Fantastic. Thank you very much for actually making your time and listening in, etc. over here. I just want to just put a special thank you, not to the fur kids or kids, but my class that have actually left for labs outside right now. We're actually doing their best not to pull any faces as we actually speak whilst we do this, though. So I've actually seen through the list of attendees so far a couple of familiar names already. It's, well, I'm trying to do my best not to do my Gavinese. What that is, well, we'll see that in just an instance. But let's have a look, though. So I still remember when I got the emails and recommendations from Rebecca and Sean that said, Gav, you're our principal technologist. Let's get some value out of you. Nah, kidding, that's not what they said. But I said that it'd be nice to generate somewhat our own content as well, though. And the thing is, when you start looking at Windows 10, the big question I actually get is just one: why? Windows 7 works perfectly well. I've been using the same thing quite a while though. What's the difference with what I'm using right now compared to what I've got? You've heard of something like the bit of the bad press in a way. Microsoft's big push for that 1 billion target for about 2-3 years, and we're here 2-3 years later on. So let's actually go take a look. Let's see. Let's have a look at the next open window here. How do we go backwards and forwards again with this slide? I'll see if I can go over to the next page. Just bear with me. There we go. All right, so just a little bit about myself and Sean. Thank you very much for giving a fantastic intro just then, though. So he's talking up a pretty big game. So looks like I'll have to do my best to actually follow the lead. Training stuff over here, fantastic. So I like the fact that I've actually been recognized as a principal technologist. I'm not saying I'm better than any of the other instructor stuff. It's a title that says of all our sales queries that we get from your sales directly, also from our sales account managers, they say, you know what, the person to speak to is Gav. He delivers it, is a bit of an enthusiast, and see what he actually does. I'll tell you, it's pretty scary, though, when you start looking at the number of years that this actually goes for. Cool, thank you very much. Getting a lot of ways to class. We should ignore stuff on that side. But 11 years I've actually spent as a Microsoft certified trainer, and as you can understand, we fight against the whole idea of those who can do, those who can't, well, they teach. But I do keep like a couple of small businesses on the books where I'm actually their consultant, officially. But look, if they decide to call me up, I'm not the IT guy that fixes things, though. I just give them, well, the best answers that I actually can. I've actually been lucky enough to actually present at a MS Ignite. I keep calling it Tech Ed in a way, just the technical learning guide that, hey, you got a problem with a lab? I'm one of the 3-4 instructors, got 250 machines, and I've done a couple of the exam cram sessions as a speaker. So there's no hassles at all. For example, me standing in front of a couple of hundred people, or maybe just a handful of people whilst I'm taking class. Now, the big thing, as you can see, just down over here, the nickname of how I actually speak around the place is Gavinese. It's just super quick. I could be an auctioneer. I could possibly do things like call out, horse races and the like later on. So I've got to take a little bit of a deep breath as I actually go ahead and do this. Look, I'm a technology enthusiast as well, though. I'm not a fanboy that believes in one brand over the other. I believe in what actually works best. And you know what? For today, Windows 10, for me, for what I've seen for my clients, actually works pretty well, though. And you actually see that little tippet over here, though. That's a lot of plastic trays in domestic security. All right, let's have to kick things off. This is the plan. This is the agenda for the next 45 minutes or so for this one. So we're just going to look at a couple of things such as, well, 2 years on, what's the current state of play so far? And also with Creators Update for Windows 10 1709. You may have actually heard there's a few things more pushing towards the Creators Update, Windows Ink and 3D, but that's not what I'm really interested in. I'm actually really curious at how it actually works with, when I've been waiting for this, Windows Server 2016. It works with Config Manager 2016 as well, Azure, what else is there, Office 365, Skype for Business, OneDrive for Business, all that sort of stuff as well. Look, don't get me wrong, Windows 7, yeah, it did the job, but it's like a house you just keep on extending, adding on to, and try to keep on patching together. And as you know, January 2020, well, that's it. It's going to be time out, though. I'm also going to have a look at what counts for us. In the enterprise, what we're going to see for business, and the threats we're going to find, the so-called arms race, if you will. But you only know and only defend against well, what you do realize as threats though. So I've just got a couple of things to look at. For example, why would you want to try and hack yourself to begin with? And if it does scare a couple of people, well, that's actually a good thing because now you're aware. Okay, so we also go through the updates and versions, how things have altered. I mean, sure, it could be accurate and central. I could be talking about things such as, let's see, current branch for business, long-term service branch, and also how that's all changed to go along the way. And yes, what's this whole Windows 10S that actually came out with the Surface laptop? Is it a Chromebook? We also have things such as the Windows 10 workstation because, you know, you got a motherboard with 4 CPU sockets to jam into 6 terabytes of RAM. Well, it's better than getting Server 2016. So let's have a look on the right-hand side here. We've got things such as a Credential Guard, Device Guard, Windows Hello for Business, and also any other questions you have, and some bit of bonus material I'm going to add on the way through as I actually see fits. The hardest part about coming up with this is not trying to stretch it out to 45 minutes. The initial draft took about, it was actually 3 hours at one stage, but hey, you know, this ain't a MXR ticket presentation. And yes, I had a couple of emails from Sean and from Rebecca and from Underwell that said, Gav, anytime you're ready, I would love the slides. You're cutting a little bit fine. And I kept going, yeah, hang on. There's actually what's been announced in Orlando, Florida with MS Ignite. This has actually been coming around here though. But it could almost be paralyzed by the choice of what I could actually put through. Shall we take a look? Rhetorical question. Let's see. All right, so I've actually got a poll to start off with. I know it's going a little bit impromptu. So Sean, you actually have it up and running for our attendees over here. How many seconds are we going to give them? About? Okay, so probably about 20, 25 seconds. I can only just hear myself so far. So question number one, you know, I'll read up on screen though. Just kind of get a bit of feel of what's happening in the audience out there. You know, what is your personal use of Windows 10? Well, you got a couple options. Well, I was a sadist. I was, you know, Windows Insider Fastering. If you're into Fastering, you've got to set up for the sign up for the Windows Insider program. That means Fastering. Microsoft are effectively getting us to be beta tested in a way, but in a good way. Look, for me, it was a case of going, all right, I'm actually going to go and try and break stuff as in, let's have a look at direct access, let's have a look at VPN, there's some red checks I can muck around with, for example, so you become a bug hunter. Now, I actually had this on my Surface Pro 3, and battery life went down to about maybe 2 hours or so, feeling quite warm, and as well as that, it was just screaming like that banshee with that little fan though. But because I had a lot of things on my plate, I actually got out of the fastering. For example, I wanted to slow ring. This is for your known issues going, yeah, we've released this, but well, here's the issues that you work around it. There was one build of Windows 10, for example, where they said, ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, this webcam doesn't actually work though. So go along with it if you will. You could also just be using Windows 10 right now, but also you could be sitting on the fence. Other operating systems, Windows 7, Windows XP, for example. So what I actually have to do is just have to give control back for just a moment here. Just bear with me. So you actually go and give it to somebody else over here. So handballing over to Sean for a moment. See how we go with that poll. Almost see a little bit of thinking music along the way as we actually go ahead and do so. But it's definitely something to actually consider as well. I may actually have to get the numbers coming in and find out. Good to see a lot of people in the chat taking time to do so here. So at the time that we actually have, for example, though, and also think of any questions you may actually sort out too. It's always good to go through the agenda. So I'm actually glad that we put that synopsis up so we can actually find out whether this is the right session for you. Now, I will actually point straight out though. This is actually just more of that summary. I would love to be doing demos, etc. here, but with the demos, well, I didn't have all the videos, etc. It wasn't a time thing more than anything though, but it's more to actually kick off that conversation with. A lot of screenshots, a lot of ways to do things. Is the poll open right now? How many seconds we actually have for this poll over here? We're curious to see what's happening. Okay, all right. So what we'll actually do is we'll just actually continue on. So Sean, if you can actually pass it back to me at the moment here. She was actually fine. Fantastic. So can I continue on? Fantastic. So like it's for myself though, I'm actually got with my multitude of machines though, I've actually got it on the slow ring for the non-issues of Windows 10. So the reason why I also picked slow ring, we're actually seeing a lot of releases now coming out every 6 months or so, which means that, hey, it gives plenty of time for the vendors to do what they actually have to do, and also make sure that we are testing all our things to make sure they actually don't break. It's actually best to do it as soon as possible. All right. So when Windows 10 actually did come out though, it's always that fear of Vista. Remember that when it was released, or have I just undone $1,000 worth of therapy by having that little reminder? So I've actually got it in the 3 columns, as you can see though. I just had a couple of different families, and this is what I teach whilst I'm doing my courses. So there we go. Do you remember the good old, MS-DOS family? Windows, 10, 95, 11 edition over here. This is effectively looking at that 16-bit Windows. Now, we may not be using the operating system. Some actually do. It's actually the 16-bit Windows apps that may still be in production today. Let's move on to what's the middle family here. This is, of course, I just nicknamed it the Windows NT family. NT351, NT4. Remember that? You could have put a group inside a group. Okay, I'll stop using examples from the previous millennia. But, good old 2000, Server 2003, and Windows XP, though. But then, they actually have to come up with a brand new platform. We were actually noticing interesting attacks such as servers actually being hosted inside the memory of a printer, for example, and trying to actually prevent all those. And also to get the best use of the new hardware and to actually stop those vulnerabilities from coming through, Microsoft had to bite the bullet and release Vista. Yes, that's a week going across from my room once again, though. I must have been one of the only people who actually went Vista 64-bit straight off the bat, only because I needed, with my video editing that I did amateur level, don't expect any Michael Bay explosions or anything, but probably wouldn't put example, more Quentin Tarantino. Anyway, the thing was, though, was that Windows XP 64-bit, because I needed large amounts of memory, was not being supported. It was left behind. So they said, hey, Gav, you need minimum Service Pack 3. Well, Windows 64-bit XP didn't get that. But here's the thing. When Vista came out, though, well, there's too many changes. A couple of businesses essentially went, we can't use our hardware. The vendor has gone, they're not going to sell any more of the, provide the drivers for the old hardware. You know what, it was a cash grab. Here is a brand new device with a driver model so that you can use it in Vista, and left a lot of sour taste in this mouse though. Interesting enough, we saw more adoption to 2008 server than we did people going Vista. But then going on to a small upgrade from 7 was actually a small jump for me, rather than business going XP to 7. So you see that divide. And that's why I just quickly fast forward over here. You can see, for example, you actually have Windows 10. So Windows 10, I found, can actually use drivers from October 2006. That's right, 11 years of catalog of drivers. Sometimes it's the executables that don't get it to work. For example, I'm having a lot of problems with built-in 3G, 4G modems into a couple of small laptops, like Dell XP Latitudes and a couple others that I'm seeing of that era. Well, that's actually not coming through, but I'm finding drivers which are 10, 11 years old, working out pretty nicely. So it's within that type of family too. Okay, let's cut to it over here. 2 years on, how are we actually looking over with what we find? Now, I will admit it was a bit ambitious because Microsoft has gone, we've got all these desktops worldwide. We're actually pushing for the 1 billion. But then as time actually went on, we're starting to see what it doesn't get installed on the dual core happens, for example. But anyway, there are 500 million active installations as of October 2017. So active installations, of course, is actually being used. It's also based on web traffic, and we can also provide the figures. I actually also went over to statistica.com, where we can actually find this lovely little graphic down here. I was actually having a look at not operating systems, but the Windows Store apps. So you're looking at over 670,000 Windows Store apps right about now. And there's also the Centennial. It's that conversion tool to move the XEs into the Universal Windows Platform format. So, yeah, admittedly, there's a few of the major ones missing, though, and I do actually get the Windows platform to run the XEs that I have, any of the let's see, the Microsoft MSI files I need to go here and install, and keep track of those though. So I'm not going to turn that legacy behind. Also, would you believe if I told you that some copies of Windows 10 have already been retired? So we're looking at the original build of 1507, thank goodness, has been completely put to pasture, so to speak. There's actually a great Twitch video. I was actually thinking of putting it through. This streamer was actually doing a Counter-Strike Go. Yes, I know I'm using a game example, bear with me. They're playing Counter-Strike Go, broadcasting to a couple thousand people. It was a 9-hour session. Do you all remember Windows 10 and its random ability just to stop and then just restart for no reason here? Okay, let's have a look at the serious stuff. I've had clients from, I can't remember the organization that does play, the OOO, Air Services Australia, Air Traffic Control, VicPol, SA Pol, Queensland Pol, Australian Federal Police. Whilst actually doing things they could not, even though turning a lot of things off, sometimes it just restart randomly, just so it could keep itself up to date. In actual fact, it was actually retired early in May. So even those that stuck with a long-term service branch of 5 years were actually moved on to the next long-term service branch. And would you even believe that in 1511, the Threshold 2, the one that got a lot of people on board Windows 10, was also retired. Well, the last Windows updates are coming out in tomorrow, in fact. Patch Tuesday is going to be Patch Wednesday for us, and that's going to be it. So it's that big push towards to be fine with Windows as a service. But what's actually come up through? Well, you've seen Game of Thrones. Okay, well, so a couple of people saying the event has the audio's not come through yet. So hopefully we're also getting all those sorted out. I'm getting audio coming through on my side. So yes, we have actually started, and well, thank you for joining us. So we start looking at the brand new Windows 10 workstation. If you were to actually look it up though, it was getting to a point we're doing things like, we're not talking things like video editing, wireframe modeling though, besides using proprietary Linux installs, if you're using let's see, the 3 Studio Max, some of the industry standards, you need a little bit more firepower. So you actually have to use server or use something that uses 4 CPU sockets. It's good to see that you're also back on board from someone in the audience. That 4 CPU sockets, 6 terabytes of RAM have the ability to do this. The other one that actually got released, this is when Panos Panay comes out, head of the Microsoft Service Division. I'm not a big speaker as him, but was looking at the new Windows 10S. When the Surface laptop was actually announced, though, they were promising 13, 14 hours of battery life. And with the model that I borrowed, I was getting towards 12. But here's the thing. The reason why it actually works so well is because you could actually run the Windows Store apps only. And yes, there's tools that you actually try to convert your exes over to your Windows Store apps, publish them online if Microsoft accepts them, or as some people were doing, sideloading them via PowerShell. Oh, don't avoid PowerShell, for example. Everything's going PowerShell these days. So here, hate to have your role automated by a couple of scripts. But yes, you got the free upgrade for Windows 10S to actually move over to Windows 10 Professional if you actually want to go and install the software that we know and like. Curiously enough, though, looking at these stats, this is from the launch of Windows 10 itself. So Windows 7 is down from 60 to 47% as of what we saw for example last year. And if you really actually want to change the conversation in your workplace, don't say January 2020 is end of life. Start saying just over 2 years, and it's coming a lot closer to what you actually think. Because you talk about January 2020, a lot of people are thinking Jetsons, jetpacks, Elon Musk is just going to power everything in sight. So not too long to actually go there. But see, I'm trying to use the carrot, not the stick, to some people over and go, we've got to move over to the side. This is also something that, well, it's a good way to visualize the stats, going from pre-launch of Windows 10 inside a preview, all the way to the last stats from February 2017 that were compiled. So one thing I actually want to bring the attention to, though, is remember that that giveaway. July 2016 was when Microsoft started saying, you got Pro, you got Ultimate, you've actually got Windows Home Premium. Okay, here you go, Windows 10 for you, if you'd like. It was a little bit strong arm for some people trying to late, for example, though, but you can see the adoption rate has actually gone quite quite well, especially when there's some ways to go and snag yourself a copy these days. If you start looking at assistive technologies, you don't have to have things such as sticky keys turned on. You can actually grab yourself an upgrade that has been tested so far, for your personal testing, of course. That's 2 years ongoing. So let's have a look, for example, of a couple of changes that we actually have brought on. I think I'm just missing just that. I think I'm just missing just a little slide I actually put up here. Here we go. I've actually just got a slide in the wrong order. That's fine. There we go, a little bit of a time shift. This is what you normally see when you're talking through, such as the magazines and everything else, magazines, online publications, people's blogs, etc., though, about the new things that are coming up. So if you actually got your inking to Windows ink, you pretty much draw on anything. I'm finding I'm scribbling it more and more these days. If you actually go and open up Edge, for example, we've got Netflix 4K sport works fine. Try to put a Netflix 4K in. When I was looking at Chrome, Firefox, for example, without the updates, not working out so well. You got the ebooks. People have got different perceptions of Cortana. Hey, hey Google, or hey, since I said that, sorry, my phone's gone through, so I've got to be careful when I say hey Siri or anything else as well. Somehow it's perfectly fine for Google to know where I work, also where home actually is, and tells you all the traffic. Hey, it's been helpful. But then you start looking at what Cortana actually does, and people just go, oh, hang on, no, Microsoft, stay away from everything else. But yes, inside the enterprise environment, you can actually turn these on and off with group policy, but have it as part of the install. Windows themes, game mode, so it's not presenting the stuff in the background, though, Windows Ink, Paint 3D, and that's what you often find. Like myself, when I was actually looking up reasons to go Windows 10 or top 5 or top 10 to go Windows 10 credits update, this is what I mainly saw. Let's try something else. Going back that slide, copy paste fail. The big changes for me and hopefully for you are all these releases that allow these things to work out in the background. I pretty much was waiting for Windows Server 2016. There were all these great features, for example, that were not going to be used. In actual fact, if you look at some of the blogs, they keep talking about this Server 2014, Server 2015, Server 10 to correlate Windows 10 though. Config Manager, Skype for Business, Office 365, and Windows Intune. So finally, we got all these features that when you set them up in local policy, it kicks off something in the registry to make it all happen. But then, what are these features? Let's give you a little bit of that rundown here. Yes, look at what we actually have with about 20 minutes to go. So this is actually something that I was waiting for when Florida, MSX9 Orlando came through, only about the last week of September over here. So just over on the right-hand side, you can see that we've had this for quite a while. Things such as the inbuilt antivirus, anti-malware. AppLock is great, a way to actually whitelist applications. I love the 3 default rules, but we had them since Windows 7. Things such as, you know what, if I apply AppLocker, you can only run things from C drive program files, program file 686. You can run things from C drive Windows. As an admin, you can run anything you darn well please, but that means that people can bring in USB sticks, but things like Tor browser or anything else, or any other XEs cannot be actually launched from there. Application whitelisting, and of course BitLocker to bring the whole thing. But have a look at the left-hand side here. I won't read them all out, for example. It's all part of the Windows Advanced Threat Protection. But the things that really got me curious are things such as, well, there was a threat called Pass the Hash, which I'll actually quickly go through. And Credential Guard is that defense against it. Device Guard, you often, if you look up AppLocker, you often find a lot of searches. How does it compare against Device Guard? Well, let me give you just a little brief example of this though. AppLocker, hey, I trust application. I trust PowerPoint. I trust Excel. I trust Adobe Reader. But what's actually going to happen if I open something malicious within? Bad macros. Hi, okay, sorry for those from the ATO listening in, but there's people posing as you. Hi, I'm the ATO, bit of a backlog, but if you run this document with these macros, you can actually get that bank transfer earlier. That's okay. Don't know how to run a macro. I'm just going to give you just a couple of happy little windows for you to click through. Thank you very much for giving us your details. And also on the right-hand side, endpoint detection and response. So we're looking at things such as the 0-day side of things. Have you all seen what's happened overnight? See this? For those of you who got the video actually turned on over here, these black eyelids are from a couple of things. One of them, for example, is no, I didn't pull all night to try and finish all this. Relax. It was actually about me watching through splayed fingers about what's happening WPA, WPA2 right about now. And yes, some of the only fixes for this is to actually shred some of your access points, unfortunately, because you can't update the firmware though. Not trying to sound too panicky, but as part of the update coming out tomorrow, Microsoft has said we've already got the mitigation against this from the operating system side of things. Excuse me. But then, what are you going to need to actually pull all this off? You can see down the very bottom layer, for example, you've actually got your good old trusted platform module. Oh, other vendors use it. For those of you who use Mac, yes, I can say that within the Microsoft presentation. It's all about the big love and what we can use after all. I'm a fan of FileVault, just like BitLocker. It encrypts just about everything though, but it's got to be used for something else. So if we're going to store stuff somewhere else, and that doesn't necessarily have to be an encrypted partition, how about we put them into a virtual machine that's completely invisible to the user? They just use it. Let's see what we've got though. Okay, scare time. And of course, whilst you're doing your research or reading, for example, my concept session of one eyeball ahead of me and one eyeball looking at my feed, hopefully this actually happens to you, but what it actually does over here. One of my favorite little parts of Twitter though is this account, Bad Things Daily. It's got a couple of 100, maybe 1,000 followers. It's purely conversational over here. It's just meant to kick off the conversation. So as you can see on their pinned tweet, all the tweets below are fictional, conversation starters meant to kick off security camera conversations though. I've seen it quite a few times in my travel over here. Someone has actually been detained, and whether right or wrong, the laptop's been kept away from them. Your CFO was detained at the airport whilst overseas, away from hardware and luggage. Question about role in company. So the answer should have been, you've actually got data in public though. How's it protected? Can we remote wipe it? If we can't remote wipe it here, can we remote certificates? What can we do? Or another one, a remote adversary has begun interactive behavior on your most senior help desk employee's laptop. I've actually got a whole bunch of others I did include into this list as well. You know, some people are coming across hard times. Hate to say, but some people get desperate. Could be an inside job, for example, over here. Social engineering, you actually take your pick. So I'm just hoping that's not going that far. But then again, it actually did. Well, big fan of public transport and save the fuel for when I liked having a quick fag in my little car of mine. Of course, let's see what happened in Melbourne. So not I'm saying, that we actually, not I'm saying that someone's trying to nick stuff, steal things, but we actually have, Tim over here, he's done the good thing. He's actually found this laptop, which actually posted up here. There we are, super clean. Are you out there? Lost laptop, tagged Metro trains here in metropolitan Melbourne. Now, because I'm constantly just looking at the photo here, I'm actually looking over here and just seeing things such as about, let's see, what's actually been protected and what's been tried upon. Now, as you can see, for example, this person has probably tried to find out details about who's presenting through, so they've already entered in a few things already. So, a couple of things I actually do like though. Is it actually got BitLocker protection already? I like using a PIN rather than a password because if someone's looking over my shoulder, for example, I could actually mention that if I've got like my actual email address, my actual password, I haven't got someone filling my keyboard and trying to jump on any browser and entering all my sensitive details though. I also had a Service Pro 4 that was faulty. That's okay. Things actually happen mass manufacturing. It was already BitLocked already, and I handed it to wherever I bought it from. Quick shout out to JB Hi-Fi. There we go. And they actually swapped it out for me. Wasn't concerned about my data at all though, because it was BitLocked already though. But also, what about things to stop people from, I know, Gav, I've got a USB, I've got things I can load up to try to break into it, if you will. Well, that's where the new BIOS, the UEFI, comes in, and also secure boot. If this is turned on, there is no safe mode. You can already spam. You can't boot up for any network cards though. And yes, you can still do Linux if you actually install secure boot for Linux inside the motherboard as well. Let's see. Okay, 9 days later, for example, it actually has been discovered, but I'm curious to find out what's happened during during those 9 days. So good it's actually worked out. So Sue, if you're out there though, good to see it's actually back on board. But let's have a look at how you can actually go and hack yourself to begin with though. So I've actually got access to tools, as do you. Upcrack is a Linux distro. It actually does brute forcing. IC Password is another one like that to try to reverse hash your passwords and also look at encrypted iOS password and backups as well. Mail PV and web browser PV, password view, is actually from a company called NerdSoft. And what NerdSoft actually does is, you know, when people put in their username password in their emails because they've never changed it, you can reverse and view it though. This one's a little scary though. Think of everything that you actually put inside your browser, and of course Chrome and Firefox and Safari and Edge and Explorer says, hey, I'll remember that for if it's like. It's able to reverse hash it. An old classic, Set C. You tap Shift 5 times. And rather than, well, once the sticky keys comes up, let's change that. Let's actually boot into a USB stick, go into the recovery mode of your USB drive for the Windows 10, Windows 2012 installer, and rename setc.exe as CMD. Well, sorry, the other way around. Copy CMD, rename it setc, reboot into Windows, tap Shift 5 times, CMD comes up during the logon screen. And the fact that you can use net user commands, you look at all this up, but you can actually enable the administrator account, change the password, and you are in, because you haven't got anything protecting the BIOS UEFI, nor you actually have anything with BitLocker. But how do you actually defeat that even? Well, welcome to a new tool called Mimikatz, for example, and have a look at the password hash board here. The days of firewalls and firewalls, unfortunately, are long gone. So we actually have to go and find out whether things have actually been compromised. You have to find a way of auditing, etc., to find out if people have got through. Okay, let's have a look at what we do have. So there's, for example, just it's a common screenshot of Offcrack, a Linux distro running off a USB stick. And I actually found a couple of passwords already, though, easily found, though. But I actually want to show you web pass view. In this one here, you can see there's entries from Chrome, from Firefox, from Internet Explorer. It tells you, for example, the site, the username that was used, and also the password as well. So using this on myself was actually just a bit of an eye-opener to look at a number of accounts. Also, what I also recommend is have a look at Have I Been Pwned, or by Troy Hunt. It was a slide that I actually did not put in. But that's where you can actually have a look at all the bad breaches, such as Yahoo, Mail.ru, the controversial personal website, Ashley Madison, and you can actually find out what was lost in that breach. There's a way to actually put in your passwords to see whether it's in all those databases as well. But anyway, let's get back on the enterprise side of things. Now, what's actually been changed, though, is if you go Windows 10 Enterprise, the main reason for this talk, though, you actually have to choose between 3 different platforms: Current Branch for Business, and also Long-Term Service Branch. Now, Current Branch means your latest Windows 10 features came up pretty much straight away, or minus 2 weeks. Current Branch Business is 3 months. They've now changed this to 6-month delay in your features themselves. And also, the patches were actually quite large. Every time a brand new Windows came out, it was actually a 4 GB download. These days, the feature update size, though, is actually going to be quite markedly smaller. That's why you often set on 0% or 22% with a mechanical drive. It took so long. It was trying to find out what you had already, and then it'll actually install the updates and like what it's downloaded to. Long-term service branch and education is still 5 years, though. So you don't want the latest features. You just want to stay what you got for 5 years, not a new version every 6 months, 12 months. Okay. Welcome to Credential Guard over here. This is what you're actually defending against, though. So what actually happens with many different pieces of malware is you're trying to find the right credentials, especially when people log on, and this is the big no-no, is actually logging on with domain admin credentials. So log in as your user, and then do run as admin. And people often ask why. Well, let's have a look. The password hash attack, for example, is number one, somehow something got onto your system, and Mimikatz, for example, or Microsoft's own Windows Credential Evaluator runs with local admin privileges and find out what's on board. Now let's have a look at the right-hand screenshot in black with the gray text over here. So this is the Windows let's see, Credential Evaluator, and when they actually ran this, just hiding towards the bottom, you can see that asmith_da domain admin. This is done in a demo 2 years ago though. There's your domain, and there is your LAN manager hash, your NC hash passwords that can be reverse actually reveal what it actually was. I'll actually come back to the right-hand side, but that's Mimikatz also running the same thing. But interestingly enough, on the bottom left-hand side, you can see, for example, that there's no password for this other one. So looking over what Credential Guard actually does though, it actually virtualizes your credentials into a separate part of your memory, if you will. So there's no way for it to actually be found at all as it gets passed through. But here's your shopping list. Number one, support for virtualized agent-based security is going to be required. This is actually a list from let's see, the documentation, also from tech.microsoft.com. Secure boot has to be turned on. Yes, it means you can't press F2 or delete to get into your BIOS, UEFI settings, but if you trade off though, you need TPM number 2, not 1.4 that came out about 5-8 years ago though. That's actually going to be required because that's where the keys that's going to be stored though. Okay, UEFI lock is also done, so they can't undo all this goodness whilst the operating system is running though. Yes, it's got to be the Captain Obvious point, 64-bit processor that we had for the last 15, 12 years, and it must support CPU virtualization. Sorry, some of your cheap dual-core Celerons, dual-core Pentiums may not support this actual feature, and you can't do it on a domain controller either. So once you actually have something like this, let's have a look at what you're actually going to find in that screenshot over here though. With that demo that we saw before, when this is obviously part of a forest, someone's actually logged on to a domain that's got Credential Guard going. It's done via group policy. Your Windows 10 enterprise machine will receive this though, and as you can see, ta-da, no, nothing stared at all. Great. That's one way to put someone in their tracks. Look, when it comes down to firmware, to your users though, it's like, for example, we give them all these wonderful tools though, but, well, they still got to click on to random things. Well, we've tried to stop the users doing random things though. Let's actually help them along by changing the operating system instead, as much as we try to educate them. So what's actually going to break though? Now, well, it can't all be at roses, but I like painting both sides of the picture. Sorry. Pick your analogy. You're going to break anything that actually requires, Kerberos DS encryption support, NTLM version 1 logons, for example, though, because there's no way for the operating system to pass it on because there's nothing to pass on. Applications that require old school MS Chat V2, like for example, old VPNs, yeah, that's also going to break as well, just to let you know. But, keep the older stuff running or keep yourself secure. Device Guard, on the other hand, sometimes gets a little bit mixed up. Once again, when you compare this to App Locker, this is where you are looking at whether you are going to restrict which application run, because there's a problem with App Locker. I mean, yeah, cool. We all trust Microsoft. We all trust Adobe Acrobat Reader. But the problem is this, though. What are things like macros that run maliciously? Especially when the helpful ones will say, hey, open this, allow unsigned macros, go nuts. But don't forget that legit software is also old software as well, like old versions of, let's see, Qt PDF, for example, like version 1 and the like. With that, excuse me, it's still vendor published software. All the signatures are fine, but it's old and all these exploits can run through. I dug up an article from zdnet.com 2010. All I found was executable PDFs. You'll find it straight away though. And if I know it's a 7-year-old article, but if people are still not keeping this software up to date, it's going to be problematic though. So Device Guard is also done by group policy, Server 2016 to put that through. Do I dare actually go and click over my desktops over here though? Well, why did I brighten myself Surface Pro or Dell XPS 13? The Intel Real Surface cameras. Because finally I can actually use Windows Hello, not just for, hey, I can log into my system or iris scanning or Face ID, take your pick of who's actually trying to do what though. But I like the fact that it actually takes a scan of the face, 3D model, so glasses on, glasses off though, my big rockabilly haircut that actually comes through as well, even did it when I decided to shave my head one time for charity. So anyway, it actually built it up, and finally it can be stored in Active Directory as part of your logons, if you will. Yes, done by group policy as well in Server 2016, but it's not two-factor authentication, it's multi-factor authentication. You can decide, for example, to be password and PIN. Look, I'm a big fan of PIN. If someone's looking on my shoulder, for example, I can just go, well, password, PIN, fingerprint scanner. Okay. PIN number for the device, swipe my finger so someone's not trying to grab any credentials though. But for those of you who go out for a swim, had a chance to do that when I was in Brisbane last week, a bit of a div demand, single lane pool, it worked pretty well. I found I actually could not log on because, things are a little bit getting old and wrinkly. So able to put in my PIN and using 3D scan on my face also worked out well, fine for business. Now, for those of you who go, oh, hang on, Gav, I thought this was a Windows 10 talk. That's okay. If you actually got Server 2012, like right now, and it's your AD, you can also do this for Windows Hello. And we've actually had these SIDs build. Here we go with the plus excuse me. There we go, 1511. We've been doing this for the last 2 years or so, though. Whereas if you actually want to actually do it on premises, not on premise, that just bugs me for some reason, though. You're looking at the last build at 1703. It's got 1709. Some people are receiving that already. So let's actually just have a look at the second question that we've got so far. Oh, there we go. Good to see it's actually got it working over here. We've got a time limit, and we'll compare it at the very end, though. So what are your work plans for Windows 10? Another thing that I ask in all my courses that I actually deliver too. So are you still under evaluation mode, though? But some people are cutting just a little bit fine. Like I said, January 2020, or just over 2 years from now, we've got people who are evaluating it too. Interesting enough, there's been a big uptake. It's the whole idea. The strategy is working from Microsoft. I've got it at home. Hey, it's actually working quite nicely with the Office so far. So your subject matter experts, I also want to reverse that thought for a moment, though. Give it to the people who are not as clear with it as well, though, and look at things from their perspective. I had a user once, though, who couldn't navigate the interface. I actually found out why. Muscle memory. They were so used to the smaller 19-inch monitor, when it gave them the big 27-inch as it came through, that things navigating around. Or maybe you've got this in production already, Server 2012 R2, and you just want to see what else can do. Or maybe you've decided to go all in, and you've got Windows 10, and it's right for home, Server 2016 to bring it on to. I just keep that poll running out to the end here. Do we actually have time to actually go for the first one? Well, I actually kept this one aside, I don't want to use the term just one more thing. Whoops, too late already. Let's have a look at a little bit of bonus on what you can. Let's bring it back to, I'm about to hand over my busted device over someone for a warranty claim. Oh, and the votes are in actually so far. So that's actually quite interesting to see out of all the attendees that we actually have, though. For those of you who actually, the 10% who actually gone Windows 10 in 2016, good on you. You're definitely amongst the, I want to say the brave, for example, but good to see you've been doing your homework so far, though. So that's an awesome poll, though, for example. For those of you who haven't answered, though, well, like I said, we've still got a little bit of time. Let's go 3.5 minutes. Maybe you actually want to see some results come through. Pop that out of the way. So, bonus round. With the last minute or so, one of the things that I actually like is having that little micro SD card. Though it's in all Windows devices. You go to the supermarket that sells tablets for $80. We know who they actually are. Great catalog. I hang out for it personally. So we've actually got file history. Now, when you're looking at things like direct access, storage spaces, file history, don't forget, don't look at 2012, don't look at 8.1, look at the Windows 10 versions here. So finally, we can actually put this on a micro SD card, and it's no longer just back up your libraries, you can also add other folders as well. What's the default? It saves every hour and it keeps it forever. But what if the drive fills up? You pop out the SD card, you put it back in again. I've actually dropped it down to about the setting of 15 minutes, and I get to cannibalize the older backups, if you will. If I were to go ahead and open up my my micro SD card, what I would actually find is, let's see, all my stuff there, folder by folder, and also the time that actually was, though. But please remember to turn on BitLocker. What's the point of actually encrypting your operating system if your micro SD card is also unlocked? And yes, Sandy's just released a 400 gigabyte one to come out very shortly though. So BitLocker and system drifts, BitLocker to go on a removable storage. So it's going to be pretty ideal just to pick up and make it just walk away. Easy enough to actually handle through. What I've actually got on the last couple of screens there is a little bit of a handout of, well, you can find some Windows updates. So there we go. I've actually dropped it down to every 10 minutes until space is actually needed, where it cannibalizes what it actually has. And this time around, screenshots of my personal setup. So that's actually getting us to wind up to the very end. So I hope the Gavinese wasn't too quick and everything's actually coming through nice and clearly. Gotta love like these microphones and stuff that I decided to splash into. Not quite going to Twitch TV yet, but if you actually want to show everyone else into the video, as you can see, we've actually got the YouTube channel, and we're actually going to go in and post this up. So just for a part where it's got big hand action and go, hey, please subscribe, go and check it out, leave a comment below, or is that too stereotypical right about now? We've also feel free to follow us over at DDLS Training on Twitter, and just quickly for yourselves, have a chat to us about the Windows 10 courses. And by the way, 2697-2, that's actually a Windows Intune course where you're doing everything except going over to Config Manager. And also got your Server 2016 15 days, on which I'm teaching the, let's see, the upgrade course right about now. But yeah, definitely come and pay us a visit, and also pop in the comments. And speaking of comments, as I'm getting a little bit on the breathless side, I'm going to have to take a bit of a sip of water, not spill everything else. And just to prove my DDLS, you've got to make sure you've got to have your bowl full of lollies that we also have. Thank goodness for that dropped over and hit cancel or something. So to the floor. Any questions that we actually have? I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you very much, Gavin, for that awesome presentation. I hope you all got something out of it. So just going back to the previous slide that you saw about the Windows 10 and Server 2016 courses, you can actually find costing and dates on the DDLS website, which is www.ddls.com.au. Alternatively, you can ring us on 1-800-853-276 and speak to an account manager, and someone from our friendly team will assist you. So courses are running in November and December. Of course, the dates do vary slightly from state to state, but if you visit our website or ring us on that 1-800 number,
you can see what I'm doing.
1-800 number, you'll be able to find information. All right, so we've got a few questions come in. Gavin, when you're ready.
I'm listening.
The first one was, Gavin, you said something about a fast ring for trying new versions. Can anyone join in on that?
Yes, you actually can. In fact, going through a couple of the blogs, a couple that I follow, Windows IT Pro, nothing to do with Microsoft. The people who write the Microsoft manuals, separate team, they're actually asking for people to join the Windows Insider program. Now, how do you actually join it? You actually go into your system properties. In fact, let's make sure I can actually verify this. I know you can't actually see this on screen right now, but if you actually go into your Windows updates, there's actually a place to actually sign on to the Insider program. Now, that's how you actually go about it. You can also sign up for the Windows Insider program with a Windows Live ID. But bear in mind, the fast ring here means be prepared to reinstall rapidly. I was actually installing a brand new copy of Windows 10 every 3 to 5 days because they were coming through as big 4 or 5 gigabyte downloads. But no hoops are fired. They're not trying to make it difficult for people to join, and that's why I signed up for the Windows 10 Enterprise fast ring, not the Pro or the Home fast ring. Hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Gav. Another question come in. Have you heard of a new version of OneDrive that apparently does not sync files the same way that it did in Windows 8?
It's actually coming back. What we actually had with OneDrive inside Windows 10 natively built in. Now, I love the 8.1 version because you could actually see what you had at Windows 8.1. It was all like a ghostly icon. It has your little thumbnails. But then, of course, but then you have to right-click and download them. And in Windows 10, there was actually a couple of complaints because people were saying, I've gone to OneDrive, where's all my stuff? They were all here, they're not. They didn't understand the difference though. So what Windows 10 or Microsoft actually did was they went, you actually have to choose. You actually have to install OneDrive and go, this will actually be your the folders you're going to sync. Like for example, my photos, it's like 39 gigabytes though. But apparently it's still coming. I've checked out the creators update in the slow ring. We haven't got OneDrive with that preview function built in, like 8.1. So 25 words or less, we're still waiting. It's not a separate client to download, unfortunately. We're still waiting.
Thanks, Gav. Good question came in from Gary Duffield. Windows 10 was up. Yeah, you know him?
Apparently.
Apparently.
So, thing that we do.
Windows 10 was updated apparently to better support virtual reality and the HoloLens. Any updates on that?
Again, going from what I've seen actually on the fast ring so far, it's by having the HoloLens, the whole idea of having everything installed. They're still looking at stability so far or feature creep. They just want to keep adding more things onto it. They're also trying to make sure they also pair it back to what's actually usable and also what's going to be stable. So at the moment through fast ring, I haven't seen any improvements through AR as yet. But I haven't looked at the fast ring in about a month, so things may happen.
Interesting. Another question from Dan Walsh. How much of Cortana can be disabled for an enterprise environment?
All of it. All of it can actually be done, but you've got to be using Windows 10 Enterprise to be able to build though. But that's one answer. The other answer as well is, I'll actually just get back to that other question in a second, just going to pop up on screen, is that, excuse me, there is actual documentation that tells you what Windows 10 actually gathers. There's always been the naysayers, oh, we're going to grab everything and it's going to feed it all into the NSA, etc. here though. But it's actually looking at things like location, like usage, and things that are useful though. So I'll actually have to find a link that I'll actually post through DDLS training or through my personal Twitter, or both. And I'll actually just show a link on what they do actually collect. But in short, yes, group policy, you can turn pretty much all of it off.
Thanks, Gav.
Sorry, just before you actually move on that though, for those who actually got a browser set aside though, fire up your favorite search engine of choice and just put in these 4 words: group policy settings download. That's right, group policy settings download. In fact, I'm just putting the word group and the 3 words group policy settings download automatically populates. Because I'm probably signed in with my other account. That's probably why though. So when you actually click onto it though, you actually be led to a site. And this Microsoft website shows you the Excel spreadsheet of how to actually deploy the 4,300 settings of let's see, because there's no search function in group policy. So they've actually got the Excel spreadsheet. But you need to know your Microsoft terminology. For example, when you search for printers, that's not the print device. Printers in Microsoft are your printing queues. The thing that spits out paper is the print device. If you actually want to block USB sticks, you actually have to look up removal or external volumes. But of course, you can search through Cortana and turn off things like telemetry and everything else as well, though. So that spreadsheet definitely helps. Next question.
Thanks, Gavin. I got another question from Nick Wiltshire. Do you know if the upgrade to 1709 with Windows 10 servicing through SCCM will still reinstall inbuilt apps that were previously removed?
Ooh. There is also there is actually a setting, it's actually part of your task sequence, to actually not download any more extra apps as well though. So it's within the task sequence itself. And also have a look at what Config Manager 2016 is bringing to the table, because we all want Bubble Witch Saga and Candy Crush, whatever being brought up as soon as we install it. So that's what I've seen so far with the new content.
Yeah, you had me at Candy Crush. Another question from Michael Bevan came in. Thoughts on Windows Defender Advanced Threat Detection?
This is what actually underpins a lot of things we're actually describing before though. So Windows Advanced Threat Detection, again, all fully announced, is that's what actually is the underpinnings of things such as EMET, Enterprise Management Threat Protection though. Well, actually, what was the name of the person who asked the question again? Actually, I got it correct.
Michael.
Okay, so Michael, so over on your side, there's actually about again 4 words, and actually I don't actually have. Oh, I do have a whiteboard. Excellent. The 4 words you're actually looking for is Windows Defender. Excuse the left hand scratching as I'm actually doing so. Application Guard. This ties in with the advanced threat protection as well. Okay, so you know Chrome, you know Edge, you know your browsers. When you actually go and open up, you always got incognito mode. You actually got private browsing. In in the new build of Windows 10, when you launch as an enterprise, though, the browser actually opens up in a virtual machine. So it's it actually comes, and all your favorites actually in there. So any malicious code that's actually open, for example, does nothing. So it's actually just a huge suite of preventive measures. And rather than actually relying on updates for the antivirus engine, you're also doing a lot of things online. So if they block port 443, port 80, there's other ways to connect to the service to get those down. So we're seeing a lot of things change every 3 months, and this also based on the feedback from, let's see, Fastering as well.
All right, thanks, Gavin. Any other questions, everyone? Last few minutes.
I hope I'm answering these well enough.
No, you're doing great, mate. You're doing great.
I don't have the big browser to inside.
Oh, good. I have a tongue-in-cheek question from one of our participants. Does DDLS offer any courses that help to reduce incidences of the blue screen of death?
Wow. Yeah. How about I can give you a free one right now? Tongue-in-cheek course. Stop installing beta software, okay? And also beta unsigned drivers is the main actual cause of them, though. So actually, all jokes aside, though, a couple of reasons we're actually seeing things corrupt is going to be unsigned drivers, beta software. Rarely do I actually see things from the operating system these days. In actual fact, once again, not having able to show you my desktop, if you were to look up reliability monitor, it's this nice little graph, and it shows you day by day what actually goes on with Event Viewer. So people install things, uninstall things, and it's also to find out where the blue screen's coming from. Is it coming from Windows 10? Could be. Could be coming from a driver, is it an application issue, or is it something that's causing browsers to crash? That's the other one here, though. And very quickly, some people think that the little emoji of the sad face is actually trolling them. There is a registry hack to actually turn that off if you actually want to.
I didn't know that.
All right. Well, that's why we're here.
Absolutely. Looks like we're 4 o'clock on the dot, so thank you everyone for taking time out today to listen to our awesome webinar by Gavin Tan. A copy of the presentation and the webinar recording will be mailed out to you in the next couple of weeks. So on behalf of everyone here at DDLS, I'd like to thank you very much for your time today, and have a great afternoon.
Cool. Thank you very much for coming in. I hope it actually made it worthwhile for your afternoon. Maybe I'll see you in front of me sometime in class. Thank you.